Hello everyone, it's been a while since there was a new video on the channel, but today finally there is, and we are going to be talking about not anime, but instead we're going to be talking about an alternate history scenario. And the scenario that we're going to be exploring is what if the business plot, also known as the Butler coup, actually succeeded. The Butler coup centers around this man, General Smedley Butler of the United States Marine Corps, twice recipient of the Medal of Honor, the highest military award in the United States, and at the time a national hero. According to his own testimony before the U.S. Congress, shortly after the election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he was approached by a group of prominent and very wealthy business leaders who were not overly pleased with the results of the last election. They proposed to provide General Butler with an army of deplorables made up of members of the German-American Bund, the Ku Klux Klan, other anti-Semitic and nationalist groups, with the aim of ousting President Roosevelt and putting General Butler at the head of a military government. In this video, we will briefly explore three possible timelines. In the first, General Butler retains power in a military junta. In the second, General Butler is ousted by Fritz Kuhn in a fascist coup. In the third, General Butler decides to devolve power to civilian authorities and call for new elections. In this first possible timeline, General Butler assumes the role of president, and a very much younger Dwight David Eisenhower assumes the role roughly equivalent to vice president. Our scenario begins in 1935. After consolidating power, the new administration outlines its new foreign policy, which it describes as Fortress America. As part of this new foreign policy initiative, U.S. troops stationed abroad are redeployed to the nearest U.S. protectorate. The 4th Marine Division, for example, also known as the China Marines, are redeployed to the Philippines and Midway Island. When the Spanish Civil War breaks out in 1936, the United States refuses to get involved militarily, although it does not bar its citizens from forming or joining volunteer battalions. The Butler administration also refuses to get overly involved in financial policy, preferring instead to focus on national defense strategy, meaning the Trading with the Enemy Act is never passed. This means U.S. corporations like Ford, IBM, and Coca-Cola are free to continue working with the new German government. Another major aspect of the Fortress America initiative is the rapid modernization of U.S. armed forces. This means that the United States either formally or informally withdraws from the Washington and London naval treaties. It also means that any project that could be potentially of military benefit gets approved, like the YB-49, the YB-35, or other projects that were fielded later in our timeline get introduced earlier. The new administration watches with concern developments in the Western Pacific region. Although it does not place an outright oil embargo on Japan, it places limits on sales to the country, which it justifies as a national security concern. The Japanese government complains loudly about this measure on the part of the United States government, but takes no official action for fear of angering the new administration. As happened during the Spanish Civil War, the United States government, or the Butler administration, refuses to forbid its citizens from volunteering to fight with the combatant nations, although it does not provide material support except for hard currency transactions. By now, the year is 1939, and the Japanese have just about secured the East Asian co-prosperity sphere. Germany has annexed Austria and Czechoslovakia, and things are just about to hot up as Germany and the Soviet Union begin their invasion of Poland. In accordance with its Fortress America policy, the new administration does not provide material assistance to any of the warring parties except for hard currency. It also declines to bar any of its citizens from volunteering to fight with either side. Unfortunately, bowing to financial pressure arising from the United States withdrawing from the Washington and London naval treaties, and the United States' strict refusal to provide material assistance except for hard currency, by 1942 the war in the West is over, leaving the German government free to prosecute the war in the East. The war in the East lasts slightly longer, although by 1946 the war is over. The Soviet Union simply cannot afford additional weapons and doesn't have the manpower to effectively utilize those weapons anyway. The world devolves into two massively armed camps, with the British Empire and United States on one side, and Germany and Japan on the other. Now then, let's change gears and look at our second scenario. In this scenario, the Butler coup succeeds, but for some reason or other, General Butler is replaced by the head of the fascist army that put him in power in the first place. In this scenario, it is Fritz Julius Kuhn, head of the German-American Bund, who becomes head of state, with either L.K. Smith or Charles A. Lindbergh, yes, that one, who becomes essentially the vice president and secretary of state. In this scenario, we once again start off in 1935. The new government of Fritz Kuhn essentially pursues a hands-off policy in relationship to Japan. There is no oil embargo, and there are no limits placed on exports to the country. Suffice it to say, the Kuhn government is fundamentally disinterested in the Western Pacific region. The Kuhn government places no restrictions on its citizens volunteering to fight with either the German or the Imperial Japanese armies. On the other hand, it does make it very difficult indeed for its citizens to sign up with any of the Allied forces. US-German relations are very much warmer than those with Japan. US citizens are encouraged to sign up with the German army. Likewise, US corporations are encouraged to sign production licenses with German companies. So very shortly, Panzers and Messerschmitts are rolling off of US production lines. Despite receiving all of this support from the United States, relations between Fritz Kuhn and the Austrian-German mustache man remain as frosty as ever, thanks in no small part to the material and manpower flowing from the United States. By 1944, the war is over, and the world is divided between a German-allied United States and Japan. Now that we've covered all the interesting and exciting stuff, let's now move on to the boring scenario. In this scenario, General Butler decides that he's had enough of absolute power and authority and decides to call new elections and return the government to civilian control. This ultimately means that Franklin Roosevelt is re-elected and the world continues just about like it did in our timeline. I hope you enjoyed this brief look at an alternate history scenario. It's one that I've thought about for quite a while, ever since I heard about the business plot many years ago. And if you do like this, do let me know, and I may do more of these in the future. But until the next video, whenever that is, whatever it is about, go out and have the day that you all deserve.